Hello, family, and welcome back to Can We Talk with Juel podcast. This is our Why Are We Fighting series. Again, we're sponsored by fundraisingcup.org ministries. So on this series, we break down the rising violence and emotional toll on our communities, as well as the deeper spiritual and social roots behind the chaos we keep seeing. Today's episode is one that's heavy, heartbreaking, and deeply personal, not just to the victims involved, but to anyone watching the world around us and wondering what is happening to us. Why are our children fighting? Why are we fighting? This story is real, and it reveals far more than one violent moment. It exposes a pattern, a culture, and a system that has been breaking long before this attack even happened, especially with targeted individuals. So I'm going to ask you guys to walk with me, if you will, for a moment. This story involves a Chicago mother, Corshawnda Hatter, whom was walking to the store with her children, simply living her life, when more than a dozen children, some I believe as young as fifth grade, began mocking her son. What began as bullying quickly escalated into something unimaginable. These children, a whole group, attacked her, beat her 9-year-old son, while her 6-year-old daughter stood frozen, forced to watch her mother and brother brutally assaulted on a public sidewalk. When Hatter was interviewed by local news sources, she said, "I felt helpless. He's looking at me, screaming, 'Mommy, please help me.' I couldn't get up. I couldn't do nothing." Both were rushed to the hospital in serious condition, and tragically, this violence didn't appear out of nowhere. It was rooted in years, guys, of bullying that school leadership repeatedly ignored. Her son had been tormented for 2 whole years, mocked because of how his mother walks due to sickle cell disease, mocked for the way she talks, followed, imitated, humiliated. She complained to the school multiple times. Nothing changed. And then this happened. Now, there was this video that shocked the nation. It went viral, her cell phone footage. Not just because the attack was brutal, but because it showed something even scarier. A level of boldness, a lack of fear, a complete absence of empathy. Children laughing and recording as the mother and her son were beaten on the ground. The community responded with outrage. A rally was held outside the school. Advocates demanded accountability. Parents demanded action. Now, guys, I must say, that's how we stick together. If we all move like this all the time, I promise you, we would be a better nation. But the damage was already done, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Let's break this down, guys. What the people on the outside don't understand is that there is a 3-layer issue here that society refuses to confront. Number 1, this behavior is learned. Children don't wake up one morning and decide to behave savagely. They learned it. at home, in the community, online, at school. When these kids see adults stealing mail, vandalizing cars, cheating the system, bullying others, and getting away with it. In turn, these children internalize that there are no consequences. You know, we discussed this in our episodes of targeted individuals, where parents use children to commit small crimes because they think kids won't get punished. So now we're shocked when that spills into the community. This is the inevitable result of what they've been taught. Secondly, bullying that goes unaddressed does not disappear. It escalates. For bullying to reach this extreme level, that school had to ignore it a lot. So the question becomes, what interventions, if any, did the school attempt?
She's 6. She has
Was the bullying written off?
So I guess they seen
dismissed as kids being kids?
And
Was the mother silent, overlooked, or minimized because of her illness? Bullying doesn't stay verbal. It grows. That's what happens, right? So it starts off small, and then the others that are watching and cheering say, oh, they got away with throwing something at that person. Well, I'm going to do even more. I'm going to scratch their car next. I'm going to do this next. Because it's a mobbing, ignorant mentality. If you can if one seemingly gets away with it, it grows. And the attack, this particular attack, is proof of that. Number 3, the mob mentality. And the so-called jumping culture is not random. In fact, it has roots, you know. In many inner cities, the practice of jumping someone is tied to gang culture, community rites of passage, group initiation, or earning status. Sometimes initiated by young people, yeah. Sometimes encouraged by adults. Sometimes connected to darker affiliations or secret societies. This notion of jumping someone in inner cities often not just stem from gangs and secret societies, but it's viewed as some sort of promotion or rite of passage, often initiated, believe it or not, guys, by a loved one. Also, that was seeking a promotion in these groups. These are the conversations that need to be held and taken into consideration. In certain organizations, people are willing to sacrifice the well-being of even their own children, especially their firstborn sons, for initiation. I'm not saying that's what happened here with this mother, but I immediately was curious to know, where was the father? What role has he played in those children's lives? It was just something to reflect on. Again, I'm not saying that's what happened with Miss Hatter and her family, but what I am saying is that it raises questions, and the questions still remain: where are the parents of these children? What are the family dynamics? Who empowers these children to behave with this level of cruelty and confidence? Who benefits when children act violently? Again, something to reflect on. And let's talk aftermath, guys. Hatter says her children are now traumatized. Her son is devastated. Her daughter is afraid. Her family has now transferred schools. Now, I mentioned this again, the trauma that is imposed when someone is victimized, targeted, to have to move around, change schools, um, just rewire your whole lifestyle. For what? For what? And now I hear she's pursuing charges. Good for her. Good for you, sweetheart. Not just against the children, but against their parents, of course, who she believes bear responsibility. And I agree they do. Because if you raise your children to believe that they can get away with mobbing, attacking, especially bold enough to attack an adult, then yes, they should be held accountable. So she has launched a GoFundMe, which has raised over $25,000 since November 19th. But we all know the truth is money can't fix the scars. We hear how the children have suffered from this encounter. This is what our ministry has been calling out every week with targeted individuals. Don't wait for it to go nationwide before you acknowledge something is deeply wrong in some of our communities and we need to fix it. In closing, again, I pose to you all, why are we fighting? Here's the truth. This isn't just a story about a mother being attacked. It is a story about a society losing its moral turpitude and foundation. A generation growing up without accountability. A school system failing its most vulnerable. A culture rewarding violence with attention. And a community desensitizing to harm. And so I ask again, why are we fighting? Why are our children fighting? Why are we ignoring the root causes? Healing begins when we stop accepting dysfunction as normal. With that said, big shout out to Chicago street soldiers, guys. Despite all the negative news we hear about you Chicago natives, you all showed out and made it clear that you do not play about attacking women and children senselessly in your community. And I applaud it. We hear your amplified voice of unity. And the fact that you guys moved this young woman into a new house and switched her kids' schools and bought her a car and flying her family to LA for the weekend for dinner. Shout out to little Zay, whom, by the way, also covered Christmas, I believe. And then you guys, just flooded her Cash App. So much love. So much love. That is the Chicago that I'm talking about. Love it. Love it. But unfortunately, guys, there are many more targeted individuals whose voices are not being heard, whose Cash Apps are not being filled, and who are unfortunately not being moved out of the way. So I again urge you guys to please donate to our targeted individual fundraiser for individuals like Ms. Hatter that are not getting the nationwide attention that they deserve, can be moved, relocated into safer zones. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on today's episode of Can We Talk with Juel, our Why Are We Fighting series. And of course, I want to thank our sponsor, fundraisingcup.org Ministries, for supporting these essential conversations And if today's episode moved you, I challenge you, or opened your eyes in any way, please share it with your friends and associates. Please subscribe. These conversations matter. These stories matter. And together we can raise awareness, demand accountability, and begin healing our communities. So until next time, stay safe, stay grounded, and stay encouraged. This is your host, Juel, signing off, and thank you for listening. Bye.